welcome one and all wherever you may be. It is I, Raynard C. Fox, and today we are jumping right into an article from Vox several days ago titled, "Young People Have a Stake in Our Future. Let Them Vote." House Democrats and Andrew Yang have pushed for a voting age of 16. That doesn't go far enough, as Kelsey Piper seems to think in this article. And it also seems Vox is getting behind the left on a tactic they would hope would most likely oust Trump and put the left back in power. If only they could foresee how such a plan could backfire and be used against them. But then again, Vox and other news outlets like them, if you could call them that, don't exactly seem to possess the skill or the art of foresight, if you will. Let's read. In more than 2,500 climate strike events around the world, young people are skipping school. Why? To protest inaction on climate change. They have reason to be angry. Yeah, they're missing out on school. Their parents probably also have reason to be angry. Their taxpayer dollars are going to waste while they're out protesting something that, while is well intended, I'm sure, is not well understood, and or they cannot see the reasons why this is inept and inane to be going out doing this when they could be in school learning about climate change and learning about what they could do when they become adults, to help bring the change they wish to see. But then again, maybe the parents aren't worried about their taxpayer dollars being wasted at private schools as their children go out and waste time protesting things that they don't have any part of or anything to do with yet. Anyways, young people are overwhelmingly concerned with climate change, and their voices are consistently ignored. Yes, I can see we're going to be saying a lot of the same things over again in this article, and I apologize. This century's challenges will likely affect them more than any of us, and yet almost nowhere in the world do they get a voice in helping to solve them. Because their voices do no good when they can't actually commit any real action to solve them. Going out and protesting and leaving school is just going out and protesting. Why are not the parents leaving their jobs during the day to protest this? Probably because they would get fired and lose their jobs, and then would be relying on their kids to finish school and get jobs to help support them as they get older. That's how things apparently work in this world. The kids are going out and doing the dirty work. The parents will actually do the real voting. So the kids' voices matter not when the parents are making the final decision at the end of the day anyway, and not all of them are backing the kids going out and protesting. In the world, almost every country bars people under 18 from voting. The reasons vary. They won't be informed enough. They don't pay taxes yet. Both valid reasons. They can't serve in the military yet. Yes, also a valid reason. They tend too liberal. They tend too rebellious. Cite those last two for me, please. Other than teens being noticeably emotionally erratic, I can understand that. But the lib part, I don't know where they get that from. But then again, it's like they are wanting to exploit teens. Vox is suggesting, I believe here, to exploit teens to help put the left back in power. So that could also be a good reason too, I guess. But the rule persists, continuing on. Even in the face of a generation of passionate, smart, and informed teenage activists, and even as it becomes obvious that our current political system is failing our children. So, parents of the children, let me say this very calmly. Parents of the children need not fail the children. Giving the children a place in politics by listening to their voices and what they want is not the answer necessarily. I don't think it's the answer, period. But saying that our current political system is failing our children is not an excuse. That means the parents need to get up off their asses and stop failing the children. They need to take action themselves, not let the children take action. The children's place is in the school to learn and be informed so they can take action one day. In the last year, there have been encouraging signs we might rethink this. Really, should we? Democratic candidate Andrew Yang has urged for a voting age of 16, and a bill proposing a voting age of 16 died in the U.S. House in March with a majority of Democrat representatives supporting it. Majority of Democrat representatives are the same Democratic representatives who wish to allow illegal aliens to vote, to allow undocumented refugees or illegals, convicts, who knows what, to vote for people that they don't have a say in either, because they're not, this is not necessarily from they're not from here, they're not documented, they're not part citizens of this country. Just like children, except children are citizens of this country, but they are not informed enough. They don't pay taxes, and they don't serve in the military. Those three reasons alone should end this article right here. But just wait. We're about to see the suggestion of all suggestions that this news reporter wishes to build a giant anthill out of and then subsequently die on. Well, let's do them one better. The United States should consider eradicating the voting age entirely and letting every American citizen who can successfully fill out a ballot be counted in our local, state, and national elections. And yes, this goes for felons too. You have got to be fucking kidding me. I would reread this again, but I do not wish to make the video any longer than it is because I want to get through this swiftly and get this funeral over with for this reporter because, oh my fucking God, this should kill any journalist's career right here. The fact that Vox allowed this, I mean, Vox is no fucking news editorial or publisher to begin with, but holy fucking shit, the mother of all, why the fuck did we print this? Got printed in a Vox article. Wow. Everyone. So I'm assuming everyone that can, so let's say, so 5-year-olds could fill out a ballot per se. First and second graders who have a reading level somewhat, and some kindergartners too, can fill out a ballot, can hold a pen to paper. So that's all we need. No understanding of the political system, no reading of the proposed issues that are on the ballot, just being able to fill out a ballot box, a check mark on a ballot box, with the parents behind them telling them which ones to, family of 5, oh, vote this way, 5 children, all of the age of 5. Yeah, folks, that's the suggestion here. That is the suggestion. That's the suggestion that this reporter, this op-ed writer chose to put into their article. Oh my God, let's continue. Let's get this over with so I can dig a hole and bury myself too, because my ears and eyes just submitted itself and put itself through the most inept redundancy I could possibly think of. Continuing on, my colleague Matt Iglesias made the case for this 4 years ago, and you didn't learn the last time. Since then, it has only become more apparent that our current system is failing kids, and that they're competent to fight for a better one. No, they're not. If you can't make that argument if you're basically suggesting that the adults who are taking care of these kids are not competent enough. If we're failing them, how are they supposed to do better? Enfranchising the last 75 million American citizens is the right thing to do. And there's some evidence suggesting it'll lead to a more engaged, more informed electorate that can at last do right by some of its most vulnerable constituents. Cite that again. Show me the evidence for that. Show me the fucking evidence for that. Because they're not any more informed, apparently, than the parents failing them. So show me that evidence. Show your work, please. Apparently, you weren't our kid, too, writing this, because you are somewhere in the early grade system that is still needing to be reminded to show your work. They tell you that in college. Show your work. Show me some evidence. Show some work. Expanding voting rights circle. American democracy got off to a rough start. At first, the vote was only extended to white landowning men. Gradually, property requirements to vote were abolished, and then with the Civil War, racial restrictions were struck from the books, though still enforced and practiced. It was not until 1920 that the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote, and not until the Civil Rights Movement that many black Americans could meaningfully exercise their voting rights. Well, you're good on your history, but that still doesn't make a case for children being allowed to vote. We know that blacks and African Americans and women are informed enough to vote. Adult African Americans and women are informed to vote. Non-landowners doesn't necessarily mean that you're not informed to vote. Children who don't own land, who aren't mature enough to do the military, again, yada, yada, yada. They are not informed to vote. This does not make a case for that. But good on your history, though, to the author of this op-ed piece. Good on your history. Many of these expansions of voting rights were bitterly opposed at the time. In hindsight, they are clearly moral and necessary. Yes, and still not a case for it being moral and necessary for children to vote, unless it's necessary for the left to get back into power, which is, I think, is what you're suggesting. You're not saying it, but that's what you mean, and that's what you're thinking. That's what you want. And I'm not a mind reader, but it doesn't take a mind reader to read between the lines in this op-ed. Increasing the voting age to let more of our citizens have a vote isn't a new idea. No, but it isn't a good one either. We've actually lowered the voting age before without any problems. The voting age in the United States was 21 for most of our history. By 1968, several states had lowered it to 18, 19, or 20, and in 1971, the 26th Amendment prohibited any state from setting the voting age higher than 18. Good. That amendment should stay in practice and should stay in action. States may still set the voting age lower than 18 for state or local elections. All right, I would like to see sources cited on that, but I will take your word for it, given that state and local, you could make a case for that. And a few cities have taken steps in that direction. Tacoma Park, Hyattsville, and Greenbelt in Maryland have lowered their voting age to 16. Yes, for state and local elections. Berkeley, California lets 16-year-olds vote in school board elections. 18 is the most common voting age elsewhere in the world, too, but a few countries, including Brazil and Austria, permit 16-year-olds to vote, and until 2007, the voting age in Iran was 15. Each of these decreases in the voting age may have been controversial at the time, but they're uncontroversial in hindsight. Virtually no one wants to go back to denying 18, 19, and 20-year-olds the right to vote. Yes, because they are typically out on their own, they are going to college, they're joining the military, they are supporting themselves, they are getting involved or should be getting involved. They have the right and the ability to take action in city, state, and federal politics. They have the right to, like for this climate change summit, the climate change protest, where we had a bunch of kids going out and protesting when they're not taking any action. They're not even going out and cleaning up. This is something I saw Tim Pool point out. It's like in an article he recently did, a group like Greenpeace going out and actually clearing out trash, not just protesting, but actually showing what they want done. The kids weren't doing that. They were skipping school to tell us what they want done. And the parents will or will not actually show that in action. They most likely will not show that in action, because nowadays the trend is to have your children be the voice for you instead of you, the adult, be the voice for yourself. And here we get to the latter half of the article, 4 reasons why we need to get rid of the voting age. Would you believe me if I said that there was another section of reasons why we shouldn't get rid of the voting age? Given what we've seen already, you think they would have excluded that, but they were actually kind enough to actually do this justice and show the cons as to why we should not have the voting age. But then again, we're going to disregard those anyways, because they're pushing these 4 reasons like there's no tomorrow. We can already see that. And again, I firmly believe that this person writing the article is pushing this because it's more about exploiting kids to get the left back in power. And like I said in the beginning of this article, could they not, if only they could see it, like how this was not a good idea and how it could be used against them, because there would be someone on the far right or someone on the right in general who might actually propose this same thing too, if it was the right trying to get back into power. I am making a case for both ends of the spectrum, right or left. This is not a good idea. Although, given from what I've seen on the right, I don't think there would be anybody on the right sensible enough to actually purport this, unless they were extreme far right and trying the same tactics. I think most people, center left, center right, on the more sensible and logical ends of the socio-political spectrum or political spectrum, would be against this as well and would not be trying to push this for their own ulterior motives of trying to put their side in power. There are a host of good reasons to give children the vote. Here are 4 I want to highlight. The whole concept of a voting age is kind of unprincipled. That is not a good reason. Unprincipality, it's unorthodox too, although unorthodox is necessarily not a reason, but unprincipled, that just raises a red flag right there. The U.S. Constitution holds that the right to vote cannot be abridged on the basis of race, color, previous condition of servitude, sex, or age if you're older than 18. It's an awkward exception we've carved out to the Admiral General principle that just government requires fair and free elections in which everyone can participate. Yes, except for those that are under 18. We've determined that 18 is the age in which
You can go out on your own. You can do your own things. You can make your own decisions. Why is it that they can't make their own decisions on everything else and their parents have to govern them except for the right to vote? If we do that, we're not necessarily like giving them the right to make their own decision, because their parents are still the ones in charge of them, right? So their parents are the ones who are governing them and governing their decisions. So in the end, they're going to make them make the decision they want to make in terms of voting. Do you not see how this is like this just doesn't make sense? But then again, I guess we're living in the clown world meme still, folks, and as badly as I want to get out of clown world, the people like this just want to keep us right there. So I also wanted to make clear, folks, these are very, very longly expanded reasons, and I think the bullet points or we can do it sort of in bullet point analysis where we're just doing a synopsis, I guess. Reading through the first paragraph kind of sets it up for giving my reasons why, or the general reasons why this is not a good idea, this is not a good reason. And so I don't feel the need to read through the whole entirety of each entire reason. We can just read through a portion of it and get the general feel for the reason, and then be able to expand upon it ourselves and refute why this is not a good reason. So we're not going to read through each entire one because it's a very long article and it's drags us deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, or the foxhole, I should say. So we're going to skip over to the next reason and the next one and just get a general synopsis of each one. I hope you all are okay with that.
The case for democracy can't rest on voters being rational, informed agents. Indeed, there's a strong case for democracy that doesn't. Really now, is that so? Let me repeat that. The case for democracy cannot rest on voters being rational, informed agents. I strongly disagree. I hope most of my viewers strongly disagree. I hope people who don't agree with me on my content or on this, my feelings on this, would at least disagree with this statement, because this is not rational at all. Research suggests that voters are not very informed. They don't know the differences between candidate policy positions. Well, they need to get informed then. That doesn't mean we should expand because they're not informed. They're probably not informed because Trump's in office, right? Trump's in office, so they weren't informed voters, I guess. Brexit shouldn't be happening. Like, people should stay in the EU because they weren't rational, informed voters. I mean, oh my goodness. And I'm sorry for the noise in the background. There's a leaf blower going on. But anyways, they don't know the difference between candidate policy positions. They don't even know what executive can and can't do. They don't reliably vote for the candidate who they agree with more on the issues. Cite those sources. Show me the evidence. But here, let's read one bit more. Does that mean that democracy is a failed experiment? Not at all. Democratic societies work surprisingly well, considering that voters don't seem very informed. They are more peaceful than non-democratic societies, have better human rights records and stronger economies, and they are more likely to protect the environment. So we need to expand the voting age to younger citizens who are not informed at all, just to even the playing field, I guess, right? Or to tip the balance of the scale in your favor of who you want in office, correct? So somehow this system, reading on, for all its frequent and costly flaws, does actually do better than any other system of government. The secret sauce of democracy must be something other than informed voters rationally selecting the candidate most aligned with their nuanced policy views. Well, so the secret sauce, I don't believe, is uninformed voters. How about outreach? How about taking action to commit outreach to inform voters instead of taking the easy way out? Moving on to the next reason, we're finished here with this one. Reason 3, voting as kids will turn young people into better citizens and likely increase participation in their whole lives. Again, cite those sources, although I would intend to agree with that, not the voting as kids, but informing children, like you were saying in the last one, they don't need to be informed, but this right here is saying this is going to help inform them. So which is it? But I don't believe voting as kids will turn, but having them more informed and involved in world politics and sociopolitical movements and everything from, the politics of the environment to the politics of the economy to the politics of the White House and the politics of the world over. having them educated and informed, committing outreach to them, like I was saying before, would actually, yeah, I would agree with that. Will turn young people into better citizens, maybe, or at least more educated and informed, and likely increase participation in their whole lives. But not the voting part, not the making the decisions. You can't put the cart before the horse. You have to make the first step first, not the second step. We want to inform them, commit more outreach to them, have them more involved in the classroom, maybe in better understanding the politics and the environment of the politics before we can start having them vote. That's will come later as they're older. Like, this should happen in the classroom. This should happen during the emerging adulthood phase, not the voting part, though. Moving on to reason number 4, kids have the same or even a greater stake in political issues that adults do. Then the adults need to take care and understanding that their children are going to want to be in a better world than this is going back to, like, the parents should be more involved. The parents should take more action. If they really care about kids and the stake that they have, that my generation has and Generation Z, the Zoomers, have, then they should be taking more action and committing more outreach to themselves and their children than instead handing them a pen and paper and saying, here, go ahead and make a choice. Make my choice. Like, make a random choice. You're old enough now to hold pen and paper. Reading a paragraph in. A frequent justification for denying kids the franchise is that voting should be attached to the obligations and responsibilities of citizenship. Kids mostly can't open a bank account under their own name, work a job, or pay taxes. So why are they opening up a ballot, filling it out, and putting it in a ballot box? They can't serve in the military, therefore they shouldn't get to vote. Thank you. Thank you for stating the obvious, even though I know you're not actually going to outline in this reason why that is the right reason they shouldn't vote. You're going to try and make a case still for why they should vote. You just stated right there, right? You just struck down and took apart everything in your reasoning right there. Like, oh my goodness, like, this is such a backwards, it's frying my circuits right now, folks. Like, I'm stuttering a lot, I'm getting hyped up a lot, I've had a lot of coffee, but anyhow, there we go again with taking down that reason right there. So what are the 2 reasons why they shouldn't do this? Actually, the end of this article has a section titled 2 Reasons Why We Shouldn't Do This Debunked. Now, I would go through this, but I think I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video for you guys to peruse, because as we've already debunked the 4 reasons why it's not a good idea to extend the voting age to younger citizens, I see no sense in going into 2 reasons why we shouldn't do this and read why they're debunked, because we're just going to re-debunked that. So that is the end of this. We're getting into the end of this video right here. I will leave a link in the description for you folks to peruse. So folks, I apologize for this long-winded commentary, but this is something that got me really fired up when I saw it, because I feel this is like one of the most asinine news articles that I've come across in quite a while. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Please leave a comment or a like, or send me an email. Tell me what you think. Again, if there are any articles that you folks would like me to peruse and put a video up on, please send me an email or send a comment or paste or the article that you'd like me to see or the video you'd like me to see in the comments section. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been Reynard C. Fox, bringing you the asinine and remarkably laughable news and or op-eds of the past week. Please come back and remember, numquam desistet, de nunquam continuo unam duasve uncius. Never give an inch and never give up. Thank you very much. Goodbye.